Good morning, good evening, hello, and welcome. Yesterday, we had a fabulous session with Ashwini and me, and we spoke about psychological aid and emotional safety. I got a feedback that many of you couldn't attend it for a lot of reasons. One of them was that there was some problem with the YouTube, so my apologies. I did promise that I'm going to record my part of the session. So I'm doing the same. I really hope that those of you who have missed it will be able to watch it and kind of, get a few points that will help you work with your children better. So, the reason behind, let me begin with that, my objective and my intention. Um, we're talking about virus in the air, but trust me, when I talk to children, talk to adults, I think what's more in the air is anxiety, fear, sadness, grief, and we've had people. I don't know if there's anybody who has actually not lost something. A couple of them have lost their family members, which is really sad. Some of them have lost things like opportunity of meeting, going out and meeting people. We've lost an opportunity. We've lost our freedom. We've lost our liberty. We've lost our opportunity for growth. I think there are children who are losing their opportunity with their exams. They were preparing for their exams and they've lost. I think we've just lost a lot. And each one of us are somewhere getting that sense of grief. And what is grief? Grief is basically an emotional response to loss. So that is what it is all about. And I kind of get a sense of anxiety, but behind anxiety, there is grief. There's a lot of anger, but there is a little bit of grief there as well. So when I was talking and thinking about this session, I thought, let me just try and somewhere, introduce you to the concept of grief, but not the grief in terms of huge losses, but, somewhere looking at it from a low and a moderate level, and somewhere help you to also touch base with, or rather touch that feeling of anxiety as well, so that you can help, it will help you work better with your children. So I'm going to just walk you through a presentation. So let me just open that. There you go. So we're talking about emotional safety. So I want you to take a minute and just reflect on what safety means to you. And taking it further, if you can also think about what is emotional safety, what does it mean? What does it mean to you? Just think of it. Just reflect. Just stay with that thought. What does it mean to you? So, according to me, emotional safety is the environment and a relationship that is created where children feel secure, or you will feel secure, and secure enough to share your raw feeling, your thoughts, your experiences, your ideas freely without actually being worried about potentially being judged by another person, or even in terms of getting a negative reaction for that experience or that feeling. So it refers to that sort of environment and that relationship where you feel secure and you feel safe to be with that person and safe to just express themselves. So for example, if you're a teacher and if you have a student, if that child feels emotionally safe with you, he'll be able to come up to you and say, "Ma'am, you know what? I don't understand this. Like, I don't really understand what you're saying. You need to keep repeating it again and again, maybe because I just don't get it." So if you're a parent, it means that a child is feeling angry about something because you've asked that child to put down the gadget, and he's experiencing something. He's feeling something. Maybe he doesn't want to let go of that gadget. Maybe he's enjoying that time with that gadget, or enjoying playing a game or watching something. And he's screaming, he's shouting, he's showing that anger. It doesn't mean that you allow that to happen. That means you're okay with that behavior. But the whole okayness is about that feeling. That you allow that child to feel what he's feeling, and that's the environment that you create. That's the relationship that you create where the person who you're interacting with is, free to express his authentic self. That means, whatever he's feeling, and you are not judging that. And you are looking at it as a teacher and a parent, you're looking at it as a human experience, not that experience of my child or a student. You are going beyond that role and somewhere looking at that experience and that interaction or that episode as a human experience. That means my child is having a human experience, he's having a human moment. That's what you look at. And that is what really drives you to create that sense of emotional safety. So since we're talking about emotional safety and we're talking about pandemic and we're talking about so many emotions. So when I talk to kids, when I have class with them, they talk about a lot of emotions. So a couple of them says, I'm feeling very sad, you know, couple of them, they actually say that, I'm very angry, I'm very angry with corona. So when you ask them why, they say because we can't go out, we can't play, I can't meet my friends, I can't go to school, so I'm very, very angry, right? And some of them say I'm all right, like I'm okay. And some of them say I am disappointed, like I really wanted to join football and I wanted to play, I wanted to get into cricket, and now I can't do that. I want to learn swimming. So I'm very, very disappointed. So there's so many emotions that children feel. And of course, teenagers, there's a sense of isolation, there's a sense of, like I said, grief, because it's a time that they actually connect with their outside world. They want to go out, they want to explore relationship, friendship, but everything is just not happening for them. So there's a sense of loss that they're feeling. And if you notice that they prefer to, stay by themselves, they prefer to engage with one gadget and they want to stay in their rooms. So there's a lot of it that children are facing. So that's one point of it. But even as teachers, I think there's a lot of people who have lost their jobs as teachers. Schools have not been able to open. Early years, schools have been forced to close down. So there's a sense of, I really don't know, the sense of uncertainty which school heads are experiencing, and they want to support their teachers, but they really cannot do much about it. So I think looking at everybody and the kind of grief and the kind of loss and the kind of experiences that we are feeling right now, because I'm a self-compassion teacher, really in terms of positioning emotional safety, this is my proposition. I wanted to bring in that compassion. That means I wanted to give you certain techniques and certain ways so you can look at that human experience from a lens of compassion. So, what is this compassion? So, think about it. Take a minute to look at what compassion means to you. I really, it's so much easier as a teacher. We can just Google things out and get definitions out. But what really will make sense for all of us is to somewhere reflect on what it means to us. What does compassion means to you? Just think about it. Because according to me, compassion isn't an emotion. It's a sort of if I have to give you like an example or a metaphor, it's like a canvas. So when you're painting, it's like a canvas. It's like a canvas. Sorry, not a campus. It's like a canvas, and emotions are like those colors that you use. So it's not an emotion. It's more like an attitude. It's a more of a it's it's basically an orientation of humanness to someone. So it goes beyond skill, it goes beyond techniques, it goes beyond practices. It is something that can be practiced. It is an um, action oriented, how should I say, it's an action oriented tool. Let me use that in that way. But it's more of an attitude, it's more of a soul. It's coming from a very deep sense. So compassion actually means shared suffering. There's a difference between empathy and compassion. So we all know empathy. Empathy is feeling for someone. Compassion is feeling with somebody. So you're feeling for your child, like how it is for that person. But compassion is feeling and with that person. So that means if the child is suffering, you're feeling that suffering and you're feeling with that, you're standing with that person and feeling that suffering. So that's the difference between empathy and compassion. And trust me, the difference is important because when you're communicating as a teacher and as a parent, the language actually changes. So it's compassion, like I said, it's not only a practice, not limited to a practice, it's not limited to a skill. It's like a canvas, it's like a soul. It's like something where things can be built on. So if that you can call it like an energy. It's like an energy. It's like that balloon that you have. It's not the balloon, but the air inside that balloon, which actually gives it the shape and gives it that element which is holding that balloon. So for me, compassion is that air. It's something that really builds on. And since we're talking about compassion and we're talking about people suffering, people struggling through anxiety, through pain, through loss, I think what is my invitation over here is to learn to hold spaces for your children as a teacher and as a parent. So, what is holding space? Holding space means you're physically, mentally, and emotionally present for somebody. Please note that word down. Being present to someone. You're not going to totally learn. You're not completely going to be learning what present and presence is all about today, but hopefully we should be able to give you an idea, explore what this present and presence is all about. So it also means putting your focus on someone to support them as they feel what they're feeling. So it is on focusing not on the child, not on their thoughts, not even on their experiences. You're just focusing on that moment, being there for the child so that you can allow that sense of, hey, it's okay, it's all right. You know, you can feel whatever you're feeling. It's fine. There's no making sense out of it. Like you really can't get questions as to why you're feeling that. But you know what? It's okay. It's all right. Just feel whatever you're feeling. Let it be. Let's give it that space that it requires. So it's all right. So that putting that focus, is what is important. Now, this is also very important because um, let me give you an idea of what focus actually means over here. So there's a difference between good and great. So a good gardener focuses on a plant. A great and a wise farmer will actually focus on the soil, the quality of its soil. So a good carpenter will think about and focus on the chair, but a great and a wise carpenter will actually focus on the quality of the wood. I hope you're getting my point. So there is a difference between that good and great. I'm talking about that focus, focusing on something which is important for you that will shape that outcome and shape that experience for that child. So it's a little deep, but you will get there. So this is a good picture, I think, because I think what is so important is, by the way, holding space is a very, very difficult practice because, it's an intimate practice. It requires a lot of, distance, respect, and kind of experience where you are okay with whatever that other person's feeling. So it's a very intimate process. And trust me, it's very difficult to do because we as teachers and parents, we feel like when a child is, coming up with questions and the child has experienced something, we're just ready to fix something. So we're always trying to fix experiences of our children. Yes, we need to. Yes, sometimes we need to jump in and we need to somewhere provide those answers. I'm not saying that you cannot. I'm not saying that you don't have to, you know, like stay like step back and allow everything to be felt by the child. No, sometimes you have to fix. I'm using the word fix, but sometimes you have to jump in and solve things for your child. But sometimes, you just have to stand out. So that is the time that I'm talking about. What are the times that you can just stand back and allow that space to come in? That is what I'm talking about, because Ashwini is going to be talking about what to do the other times. That means how do you jump in, how do you step in, how do you empathetically give them ideas on how to solve that problem. I think I'm sure she's going to be talking about that. So I'm talking about the other side. So it is about distancing. It is about somewhere stepping back so that the child will experience, will feel what they're feeling. Now, this is very, very important. If you're talking about vulnerabilities, vulnerability is not weakness. That is what Brené Brown actually says. If you've not heard her, please Google her out because she's fantastic. She's done so much of research on this topic. I believe so because I think a lot of strength comes with a lot of pain. But the problem is that we have to allow that pain. We have to feel it. We have to really engage with it. We have to kind of, open our hearts out to feel that pain. And we don't normally do that for our children. So let me give you an example of what I mean, okay, in a very simple way. Boredom. Now, a lot of parents come back to me and say, my child picking up gadgets, he's bored, he's just always on the gadgets, he don't know what to do. I don't know. The moment we put the phone down, he doesn't know what to do. I'm running out of ideas. I don't know what to tell him. What are the games I can play with him? He doesn't like this now. I did introduce him to Lego, but now he's out of it. Now I did introduce him to something else and reading books, but he doesn't want to do it. I'm running out of ideas. I don't know what to do. At that point of time, I invite parents to actually think about what is their attitude of boredom. Like, why do we not give our children the permission to feel that boredom? Why? Why is it not okay for them? Yes, you need to give them certain activities. It's not like you don't have to give them activities at all. Yes, that is important to give them activities, but not all the time. Let them feel boredom. Let them feel that sense of when I don't have anything to do, what should I do? Because a lot of creative and new ideas comes in. I have a child who's about 14 years old, and trust me, I can give you any number of times when I've just allowed her to feel that sense of boredom and nothing less. There are times she's removed her books out of her, out of her shelves. She's removed clothes out of her cupboard and cleaned it and kept it again, folded and kept it again. There are times she said, I want to bake. I said, all right. There are times when she says, I want to give the dog the bath, even though that's not the day. I said, all right. So they will come up with ideas. They have that ability. They're intelligent enough to regulate that boredom. The only thing is we have to get them to feel it. And the more they feel it, the more they are able to know how to handle it. Because what we're doing right now is because we're not allowing that experience to come in, they really don't know what to do and how to do it. And when they are faced with a challenge, they don't know what it is. They haven't tasted it, so they really don't know how to deal with that intensity of that emotion. So over here, when we say holding space, that means when the child, of course, bringing, that was just an example of boredom, but really right now, it is not about fixing. It is about holding space where you allow the child to feel, and you're like stepping back, allowing the child to feel, and stepping in only when it's required. So that's what I meant about that. And when you hold space for somebody, it creates a sense of forum. It gets them to feel safer. It gets them to feel secured. It gets them to feel that, yes, I'm a human, that it's okay for me to talk about whatever I'm doing. And it's all about just simply being with them. That's it. It's just simply being with them. Yes, I know you're bored. Oh my gosh, that can be a challenging emotion to deal with when you don't have anything to do. Because we are conditioned always to do something. We're always on the doing path. So when we don't have anything to do, like, yeah, that can be difficult. So let's breathe through it and see. Just breathe through it and see what that is. They will get angry because they don't find answers. If they're young children, if you're a parent and a teacher of young one, they will get angry. Like, no, why? You're supposed to give me the answers. But believe me, sometimes our duty as an educator is not to, sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, sometimes it is not giving them the answers. It's helping them to find the answers if it's not threatening for them. If you feel that they have that capacity, right? It's about doing that. And emotions like boredom or anger, or even at a certain extent, sadness as well, and in certain ways, grief. So I'm not talking about grief, which is heightened grief. I'm talking about grief where they feel like, I can't go out with my friends, not anymore. I can't go out and play. I I feel that loss. I don't know what to do. I can't go out and, with shopping with my friends and my family. I can't go to park anymore. I can't go to my neighbor's house. My parents don't allow that. Hold space for them for those moments. Simply just be with them, because really we don't have an answer for them right now. Right now. But you can. You can just tell them, yeah, I do understand. So this is an I love acronyms, so that's the reason why I thought let me just try and give you something that you can follow as an educator. What are the steps that you can do to basically process that grief, that little moderate amount of grief in children? Just support them. Sometimes it's just about being heard. Sometimes it is about just being there for them. It is about saying yes without fixing. So provide that support that works with them. And for that, you need to understand children. You need to know your children. You need to notice things about them. You need to observe certain traits about it, how they process. It's if you're a parent, I think this is something that you need to do. But even as a teacher, you at this time, keeping this situation in mind, I think we need to learn how to notice. That's coming anyways in my next slide, but provide support that works for that person. So you can ask them, I mean, there are some children who, so there's no one standard, way of supporting children. So what works with one children may not work for the other children. Some children may want to find out answers. Why, ma'am? Why is it like that? Why is it that we can't go out? Why is it so difficult? And that time you need to just answer that question saying, you know, I wish we knew. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're not going out because it's quite unsafe, and there are possibilities that you may contract and the disease and virus. So that's the reason why, for the safety reason, we're not going out. I may not know, but what I really know for sure is that it's going to pass. It's not going to be the same thing the next year, or maybe year after that. I know that we'll be okay. So, just those kind of assurance and reassurance and providing that support in a way that works for them, right? Presence. Now, when a child is talking about the loss, talking about losing friendship or not going to schools and missing their friends, just be present to them, saying, yeah, I understand. I'm completely here. I'm listening to everything that you're saying, and give them permission to talk about it. When I do these sessions with kids, there are times, in fact, it just happened today morning. So I'm going to give you that example. I had something planned for these kids, and it was a mindfulness session for grade 3 and 4. And I had a couple of, I want to talk about anger, to be honest. Anger when they've been taken, when someone takes away things from them, that kind of anger, how do they process anger? How does it feel? But you know what? These kids didn't want to talk about that. They wanted to talk about coronavirus. And that's where they all started, you know, conversations around it. And so a couple of them were saying how sad they feel, how angry they feel, how disappointed they feel. Some of them are very happy. They say, we are very happy. I'm happy. Why? Because I moved to my farmhouse. So that's what the two other people said, that I moved to my farmhouse, I went to my village, and over here, there's no coronavirus. I can swim. I'm so happy right now. So there's a lot of emotions that people, and especially children, express and exhibit. We just have to be present to them. And if somebody is talking about a loss, about staying away from their pet, or staying away from their room, or losing their grandmom for that matter, it can be hard. It can be really, really hard. Just be present. Just be there for them. Just listen to them. That's all, without fixing, without saying anything. Sometimes silence is the best way to show that you're present for them. Make that eye contact. Answer and rephrase what they're saying. So, like for example, says, I lost my grandmom and I'm feeling very sad. Okay, yeah. So what you're saying is that you're very sad about losing your grandmom. So, rephrasing that, reassurance, making sure that you've actually heard them, staying active when you're listening. So just be present with them. And of course, attending. So when we attend to the needs of the grieving person, even though it means that we put our needs behind. So a lot of times, when there is a person who's talking about their, you know, they grieve, and we have an agenda of teaching something, or or there's a need for us. Sometimes we just have to let go of what we have planned, our agendas, and just attend to what is required right now. Like, for example, today, anger prop, I don't know if it would have worked or not, but definitely there was a need for me to pay attention to the need for their need. That means children's need for those questions, that validation. So in fact, I did do an activity with them where I got them to do the circle. Let me just show it to you since we're talking about it. So this is an activity that I did with them. So that means it's an inner circle and outer circle. I call this focus circle. So since we're talking about attention, I thought this is a good way for me to tell you. This I call this as a focus circle. The focus circle is inner circle, outer circle. And the inner circle over here is things that I can control, things that I can do. What can I do? What is not in my control? What I cannot do. So what the kids did was they actually filled things up inside, which spoke to them about all the things that they can do to keep themselves safe, to keep themselves happy. So you can do this with different emotions. So safe, they said, I can eat well, I can wear a mask when I'm going, I can sanitize my hand, I can stay away from people, maintain the physical distance. And what can I do to be happy, stay connected with my friends over Zoom? I mean, they filled it themselves, and we were just facilitating. Things that I cannot do is I can't go out and play right now, and that's not in my control, right? I can't go out and visit my friends. Well, that's something that is not in my control. So they did the inner circle, outer circle, and I had to attend to that so that they clarified. So I put my agenda at the back. I mean, I didn't really care too much about it at that moment. What was more important for me was to attend to their needs and kind of help them to sort out. So even though it's not grief, but this was very important for me to do at this point of time. I hope you get the idea of what that means. So being creative, that means we allow grief to happen when it happens, wherever it happens. So that means if you have a child, I was speaking to somebody who lost their grandfather actually, and she's about 10 years old. And she didn't cry for the first 2 months. So she didn't, there was no emotion demonstrated at all. She didn't exhibit any emotion. The mother was a little concerned. She said, I think she's in the shock, and she's she doesn't show any emotion. I don't know, maybe she's just insensitive. I don't know, she's laughing, she's playing, and she's eating properly, she's sleeping. And then I had to tell the parent saying, I don't know how she is, but definitely she is experiencing something, right? So let me see. So what happened after 2 months was when the topic came up, it was not something that was deliberate. The parent just started talking about grandmother to somebody else, and she was saddened. She was low. She started crying, and then she was stopping herself from crying, and that's the time it hit her. So there are some children, who process things a little later, but you know, just wait, just be there for them. And whenever it happens, you have to, we have to kind of provide that support so that it happens. Not like push them to process it there. So people have timings, even with, experiencing and processing difficult emotions. So yeah, let it just happen when it has to happen. But when it happens, then we need to be empathetic. We need to be there for them, share their emotions, their feelings, be, you know, be in a place where we can listen to them and just hear them out, and just just understand what they're going, and share that you understand and you believe them. So space is something which are like 5 steps. Thought I'll let you know. So you may not be able to understand all the five. So, but really, my invitation over here is to look at the P, the A, and the E. Maybe that is something that we can do right now, from a low to a moderate sort of grief, emotion, even anxiety for that matter, or even in anger. Just be present to their anger, just be present with their anxiety, hear them out, pay attention to what we can do that exercise, saying, okay, so let's try and see what we can do to make you feel better. Yeah. So Ashwini did speak about it, and you can probably listen to her talk. Her presentation is there on one of the click. Maybe I'll just put it on this email over here so you can look at that. So she did talk about, having levels of emotions. So if you are, let's say, if you're feeling a 5, you're sad and you're feeling a 5, so you can ask child saying, what can we do to bring it down? So what can we do to make it a 4? Can we, play? Is baking going to make you feel better? So is talking to your grandmother going to make you feel better? Talking to your friend makes you feel better? What is it that we can do to bring it to a 4? So that is being, paying attention and attending to their needs and offering tools that they can do. But anyways, we'll come to that as well. So presence, attentive, and empathy. That is something that I would like you to think about and focus. And now coming to what you can do. I'm going one by one. Simply, the first thing you can do is please notice your children, observe them, notice how they're exhibiting their emotions, notice how that child was before. Maybe he was a sort of a person who was very quiet but speaking a lot nowadays, or he was very participative in the class and he was a chatterbox. He used to speak a lot, but now he's become very quiet. Or it could be, a child who probably used to switch on his camera but not switching on the camera anymore. I mean, just notice changes. Maybe he is using a lot of negative words. Maybe he's trying to bully somebody, but he was not that kind of a person who did that. So just notice changes, observe, because a lot of times we as teachers are just so involved in what we have to do, that is, we need to deliver content, that we don't observe our children, we don't observe their behaviors. So just pause and just observe and make a note of that. And if you have a counselor, please do work with the school counselor so that she can advise you on how she can advise you on how you can approach them. Now, if you feel that there's somebody who is grieving about something, who is feeling sad about something, just make the children feeling less alone. Ask them, what can I do to make you feel less alone? What can I do to be there for you? What can I do to help you feel better? Like, what can I do? And if you feel that, if you invite, like if you propose saying, hey, do you think if I call you like today around 5, do you think it'll be better? You will feel better. And the child says, yes, ma'am. You know what? And it's something that is not allowed by the school. Check with the school if they're okay with it. You know what? Bend the rules a little bit. Bend them, because I think today we all need that, right? So if you feel like, if the child is going to be better, talking to somebody who is a buddy, like, if would you be okay if somebody from your class gives you a call around 5 o'clock and probably just talks about things, not about his that episode, but just generally just have a conversation with them. You know what? Bend the rules, bend yourself and bend the rules a little bit so that children feel supported. Don't leave them alone. That's what I'm saying. And ask them what makes them feel better. So, what makes them feel less alone. Be present to their feelings. So when, if someone has lost their mom, like I know somebody who lost their mom, and the child is about 14, 15 years of age, and they have a younger sister. And I heard a counselor saying, I do understand how it is. It's a big loss for you, my child, and but you have to be strong for your father. So there's nothing wrong in that. But thing is that when you hold space for someone, you don't pressurize that child more, because we really don't know how the child is feeling. There are a lot of times where children come to me and say, I need to be strong for my father, but I just don't know how to do it. I can't handle myself. So it's adding more pressure on their present experience. They're anyways going through a lot. They're missing their mom. There is grief. They are, you know, they don't know how to handle that sadness. And then you add something else, which is like, I have to be strong for my father. I need to handle things up. So that doesn't really allow time for children to process that particular emotion. So you are just allowing them to move, right? But if you just don't say anything and just, like, be present to their raw feeling. Don't say things like you have to be strong for anyone. And don't even say that you don't have to be strong for anyone. Don't say anything sometimes. Just say, hey, something like, I know how it feels. It's grief, and I'm here for you. Just that's it. And just remain silent. I don't get into that fixing mode, saying, hey, you have to be strong, you have to be okay. You're the oldest one in the family. You have to look after your sister. You're a big boy now. You have to be strong for your younger sister. And, your younger sister's going to look up. Don't say anything. Really. Just let them be. They will figure that out. It's important for them to understand that they have to be strong for their fathers, and they will. And you just need to facilitate that. So let them just get in touch with their raw feeling. Trust me, strength lies there. They will understand. So advice in problems is coming, it needs to come later. So what I'm saying is, when you're just being present, just stay away from advices as much as as much as possible. Problem solving can come a little later. So there could be times, there was a child I know, who was going through a lot of isolation. Like, he moved from one school to the other school, so he really could not make friends. And uh, he basically he didn't know how to make that friends and how to do that. So he was going through a lot. He was going through, of course, he couldn't go out and play. So he was going through a lot of anxiety. And to kind of numb that feeling, he was picking up gadgets. So he was picking up gadgets so that he gets distracted. So at that point of time, when the mother was saying, get off the gadget, let's start doing something productive, need to do. So that was basically getting him to rebel. Like, he was trying to fight that thing out. He was arguing with that. And the mother couldn't understand what that was. She thought he was just being rude, and he, just didn't know, and he was just changing, and he was like, I don't know what happened to him. He's just such a different person. But trust me, children pick up, we need to sometimes pause and understand why the child is picking up that gadget. And sometimes you need to ask yourself, like, when do I pick up gadget? And the child will themselves say, I feel better when I'm with the gadget. I feel so much more relief. Like, I feel, and even adults do that, right? So instead of focusing on the gadget, focus on the feeling. Like, understand what that is. Why do you pick up that phone? Does it make you feel better? Are you trying to run away from something? Not run away. Are you trying to distract yourself from something? And are you trying to connect with someone? Why do you pick up that gadget? So sometimes it's difficult for parents to do that. So as a teacher, and if you're a counselor and listening to this, it becomes easier for you to do it. So what I'm trying to say is, get the advice and problem solving right now out of the way immediately. Do that, but maybe not immediately. There would be a time when you can do that. And have positive regards for the child. So this means that as a teacher, forget about your experience that you had with that particular child before, what has happened in the past. Hold that child unconditionally as in your positive regards. So forget about what's happened, what experience, how the child is, what his family background is, from what kind of family he comes with, whether the father is rude, whatever. Just leave it, because at the same right now, hold him in your high regards. Yeah. Allow child to or children to feel whatever they're feeling. I think this is something that we've spoken about. Refocus on your intention when you're listening to someone. So instead of replying and fixing, holding space is just about being there. So just remember that word, just being there. It doesn't mean that you don't say anything. It is about saying it in the right time. It's like a farmer who's focusing on the soil will actually observe the soil to see what is the quality. He'll go and touch the soil every day to see where they are, what is the kind of requirements I need to do, what is it that I have to do to better that quality of the soil. Does it need water? Does it need fertilizer? So he's doing that every day. He's doing that check every day. And when it's needed, he will provide that fertilizer, the sun, the water, the change, whatever is required at that point of time, he will do it. Whatever is needed to better that quality of the child. Better the quality of the soil. But right now, it is about not saying anything. It is about just simply being. So you are listening not to fix. You are listening not to provide advices. You are listening just to be there for them. And that's really tough, because we've been conditioned to fix. Like I said, we've been conditioned to say something immediately. We've been conditioned to be reactive with our words, right? No, you can't feel this way. But here, refocusing is all about paying attention to your intention. So when I say don't center yourself, that means what I really mean at this point of time is to understand that it is all about the child. So you're saying something. So your child is the most important thing. He's the center. It's not about you. So when you give examples such as, I know how it is. When I lost my pet, because a child has lost his pet, for example, you say something like, I have lost, when I lost my pet, I came out of it immediately. This is what I did, and you can do the same thing. I was brave enough to do that. So it's not about you, because a lot of time we do insert our stories into the scene. So it's not about you, it is about the child. It's just about being there for them. So if you can get your stories out, better. Reassuring them that you believe them. So whatever it is, no matter how foolish it sounds, how ridiculous it sounds, how unbelievable it sounds, how immature it sounds, it doesn't matter. It is about you telling them that you believe them and that you are ready to share their feelings. And it's okay to just feel what they're feeling and say it the way they feel in the language that they know. And you believe them. Trust me, it believes them. It kind of builds that trust with them. Being open to whatever emotion that comes up. So that means it could be anxiety, and from anxiety they can move to anger, from anger they can move to disappointment, from disappointment it can go somewhere else, because children are trying to still figure out what that emotion is and they don't know what that vocabulary is. So just being open. So don't get into that thought saying, he was just angry, now he's sad, now he's disappointed, now he's showing hatred. I mean, what is going on? I mean, is it this child playing? No, the child a lot of times does not really play with their emotions. They're just trying to make sense of what their experience is. So just be open to whatever comes their way. This is something which you can do as a practice. That means check your breath in a way to kind of get a sense of whether you are grounded. So when I say grounded, that means you are centered and you are, just right there being present with them. And trust me, breath actually does that. Breath allows that sense of groundedness. It gets you out of your head and gets you into what you're feeling right now. Because a lot of times, insanity is believing your thoughts. So it kind of gets you out. We need something to get out of our head, that fixing head, that judgmental head, that problem solving head. So we need to get out of it. And to get out of it, we need to somewhere try to connect with things which is more grounded, centered, which has weight. Our body actually does that. But if you're not able to do that with the body, breath actually does that. So if you can train yourself, if you cannot train yourself, you can find a mentor. I'm somebody, or if you can come to me if you like, or otherwise you can meditate. Any breath work that is available for you, any pranayamas that you can do, um, any kind of breath work that you can look at, it's fine. So breath is an effective way to make sure that you remain grounded. So just kind of tune in into your breath, and probably you can also allow the child to breathe. Just breathe. And you can make it fun for them, of course, not while they're grieving, but they're talking about anger, they're talking about sadness and disappointment. You can make it fun for them. It doesn't need to be boring, serious and heavy. You can make it very light. So when I talk about emotional boundary, that means a lot of times, as teachers, when children are facing um, problems, we do tend to kind of bring that with us. We kind of feel for them, and in that sense of opening that space and holding that space for them, we may absorb their feelings and we may kind of get disturbed with what they're feeling. So that's why emotional boundary is very, very important. Now, to kind of create that sense of boundary, you need to understand if you have the capacity to actually hold yourself and hold that space. But if you're not, then please, introduce your counselor to the child. So you can ask them saying, I really want to help you and we really want to help you. So is it okay for you to talk to your school counselor? Can we get her into the picture? I will be there for you if you want. But that sense of that. But if you are able to take in, like you're able to disconnect from that story which the child is saying, and you can process it yourself, and you're you're okay with that, then you can still keep talking about it. So emotional boundary is basically marking your boundary. So you're listening, but you need to get out of it. It's a skill, and not everybody can do that. But a one quick way that I can offer you is when you finish with a story, when you've heard a story which is really sad and full of grief, and you feel it's very difficult for you to process that yourself, and you're feeling very disturbed of it, then you know what? Take a cold shower. Take a shower, drink hot cup of coffee, tea, lime water, something warm, something soothing. You can also meditate if you're a kind of person that you do. Take a walk if that is possible, do yoga. So provide that transition. So, because we all need that sense of energy shift. So that means you're feeling something, and we're kind of feeling what the other person is feeling, and we absorb other people's feeling, and sometimes it kind of remains with us like a residue. You need to make that shift. What works for me is yoga. What works for me is cold shower. And if you insert a bit of salt into it, rock salt is awesome. Take that shower. It kind of somewhere cleanses that energy out. That really helps. Or breath work, or walk, or talk with somebody if that's something that helps you. So just create that sense of plan for you to shift away from them and disconnect from that episode so that you don't get absorbed by it. So creating that emotional boundary is important. Now, this is something which I want to tell you is when you are holding space for people, you don't have to have answers for everything. And it's okay not to have any answers sometimes because none of us are an expert on everything, right? So sometimes you just have to allow that space for children to feel that space, that landing space, so that they can air their pain, so they can land into that space and just be. Sometimes that really works for them. Just like the way we are, like when we are, let's say, disappointed, when we are anxious about something, like we didn't get a promotion that we're looking for, we don't get a salary that we're looking for, we just want to be heard by someone. We don't want advices at that point of time. We don't want people telling us what we need to do. We just need to be heard. We need to be felt. We need to be validated. That's exactly what we are trying to do with our children. So now, what does compassionate talk sounds like, right? So I'm just going to move on so that you know what I mean by this. So there are three aspects to it. One is notice. So you can use notice as a word. So that means notice means you can see something. So you can say something like, I noticed that you were quiet in the class. So can I help you? I noticed that you were not talking too much. So is there something that I can do? I noticed that you were angry when somebody else, let's say, some other child was saying something, and there was a bit of snapping happening in the class. So is this something that you want to talk about? Right? So whatever you notice, mention that. Whatever you see, you mention that. You kind of bring that open. Not in a don't kind of, you're very curious about what that is. That's what I'm saying. You're not really catching and pinning the child up for doing something. So you're not really, it's not a consequence that you give. You're basically just trying to be very curious about what is really happening, because you are there and can you help them. That's what I'm trying to talk about. And say something like, I understand your problem. So there's a cognitive aspect to how compassion is processed. So something like, from the thought, could be something like, hey, um, I understand your problem. Like, I know how that feels. Like, I know how it is when you're not allowed to go out. Like, I know how that is, and I can understand your problem. So it's a more of cognitive reflective thing. Or something like, I also think, like, somebody, a child, who's very angry about somebody who he saw was not wearing a mask, right? And he's talking about how stupid they can be and how ridiculous they can be. I said, yeah, I mean, I do agree about people not, I do agree with the fact that you get, upset about when people don't wear masks. I don't understand it either. I don't know why people, what is going on in their mind. I don't know. I do understand that. So I do understand what they're thinking. That's exactly what you need to put across. I do understand that, right? So it's also coming to the feeling level. So that means you talk in terms of, I know this is hard for you right now. And it's quite natural that you feel very stressed. And I'm here for you. right? So I know it's very hard not to meet your friends. It's quite natural to feel that way, and I'm here for you. I know it's very tough, not meeting your grandparents and not going and spending summers with them. And I know that is very hard for you. And I know it's quite natural to feel stressed. It could be something like a child who, let's say, has corona. I mean, the family has got corona, and the father is drinking, has not given up drinking, but he's got corona. And the child is like, my father's got corona and he's drinking. I don't know what to do, you know. Then at that point of time, you have no answers. You can't say, go and talk to your father about it. You say, yeah, I know it's very hard for you because you love someone, it's your dad, and he has corona, but he's still drinking. It is a matter of stress, and I know how it is. But you know what? I'm here for you. You can talk to me about this. I know it's very difficult to do this, but I'm here for you. You're angry, show your anger. Is there anger? Go ahead and express it. So just that space, that permission for them to talk is going to make a hell of a difference to them. And if you don't feel like talking, you can also tell them because you're feeling something. You want to remain quiet because a lot of children, what they do is when they don't feel like talking, when they don't know what is happening, they don't know how to process what they're feeling, they just remain quiet. They say, I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to talk to you, especially teenagers. I said, okay, if you don't feel like talking, that means you are feeling something. And I'm here. I'm ready to listen whenever you're ready to tell me. Yeah. Another thing which I want to tell you all is when you're talking about emotional boundaries, just bringing that point over here is when you say that I'm here for you and you can talk to me any time of the day, you can talk to me any time of the day, anytime, just call me. If you can pick up the phone at 2 o'clock in the night, then please do that. But if you cannot, then please be very specific. So that means I'm here for you between 10 to 8. You can call me anytime and I will be happy to listen to you. No problem, my child. So if that is there, please maintain. If you can, and if you're okay with somebody calling you at 2 o'clock in the night, go ahead and do it. But otherwise, allow the child to reach out for help, right? Or through a school counselor, there are a lot of distress helplines that are open. Encourage children to call them because you can only be there so much, and there are professionals that are available for them to offer their service to them. So yeah, so just maintain that. A drive and action could be something which is an invitation, like I said, inviting them, encouraging them to go out and seek help that is there. And what, we're doing this because I really want to help you out. I want you to get out of this. I want you to get that strength, right? So we're walking with you. So that's the language that you use. And something like when you miss your grandma very much, I know how it feels. I know how it feels. So we've kind of noticed that. So at the end of it, I think what's important in terms of how compassionate talks sounds like, feels like, is I hear you, I see you, and I feel for you, and I feel you. I'm for you, I feel you. Is exactly what you have to do. Now, there are certain things for you which I think before we give out support to children, there are things that we have to do to fill that energy up, and so that we don't really deplete ourselves of the strength and the motive and that positive energy inside of us. So I think number one is, I don't need to tell you this, but just stay away from media as much as possible, because believe me, media is designed, I would say, with that intention to talk about bad news, hard news, and they only talk about deaths, and they're giving you a picture. So in fact, you know what? Invite your children, tell them about, people who are recovering. Like Dorasam Swami is somebody. He's about 102, I think, and he's actually recovered from coronavirus. You can talk about things like, with media, because children will come to you and asking, why is everybody just dying? I mean, there's so much of death around, and people are feeling ill and they're hospitalized, and saying, yeah, there are some people who will need hospital support, but there are some people who don't need. So let's look at people who don't need, right? Like your neighbor, like your friend, like your grandmom, like your cousin, like so and so. They're actually recovered from home and they don't really need, they with limited attention, that the body is very, very strong. It knows how to build that immunity. It has that immunity. It knows how to build that antibodies, and it will support you. Have faith in it. Because what media really does is feed in with bad news. And you know what? Our mind is designed to overscan, over exaggerate, overthink. So anything that is over, that's what our mind is designed to do. And the moment it grabs wrong, hard, negative news, it kind of gets into a rumination mode, and that's what's happening to our children. But for you, please stay away. Media distancing. That is something that is my recommendation to you. Think about things. Look at people who are recovering well, because I think that's important for us to kind of get that confidence. Get warm, supportive, comforting supportive conversation, get into them, converse with your friends, with your families, reach out to them, a counselor. I know as a teacher, you might be listening to a lot of stories. You don't know how to support your children. You know what? Talk to us, because as a teacher, you're also going through a lot. There's a lot of anxiety. You've not been able to go out. You've been at home. There's a lot of noise going on. You need that space. You're balancing work, you're managing children. You know what? There's a lot of it happening. Get yourself some support. If you feel like a person like me or people who can help you out, get that clarity, that comfort, make you feel better, do that. Get a mentor, because we all need it. Trust me. Find fun things at home to do. So every day, just make sure that you're doing something for fun or doing something funny. Like, what's something that makes you laugh, that makes you smile. Do things purposely. Like, plan something in a day where you have fun, right? So we'll just leave that up to you. Create new routines and keep practicing healthy behaviors. That means, eat well, sleep well. Working from home can be difficult. Don't sit in one place. You just saw somebody who's coming at the back. That's my husband who just came in. And by the way, I told him not to come in, but he's come in. But what can you do? But that's how it is. You should be just okay with anything that happens, because you're working from home and there are people who will come in, and you can't really have that one designated position and posture and place for you to work. If you can, do that. If you can't, this is how it is. Everybody understands. I'm sure you'll understand how it is when you're working and somebody walks in. It's okay. It's fine, right? So, you know, control some, include some music which basically helps you relax. So there's a lot of soothing music that you can use, create some white noise, go for reading, gardening, caring for pets. So do things that makes you feel it's okay. Like, it's all right, right? You get out of that perfection more. Like, there's nothing called perfection right now. It is what it is, right? When you're working, there is going to be somebody who's going to knock on the door. There's going to be somebody who's going to ring that bell. Your babies are going to come, and it's all right. We all understand, right? So create some healthy routines and fill yourself up. Do things that makes you feel happy, makes you feel calm. Meditate, whatever works for you, right? Work out for your body and your mind, because trust me, if you don't meditate, you will need medication. So meditation, if you don't have meditation, you will need medication. That's how I look at that, right? So exercise, meditate, breath work, positive notes, engaging with people around you, do things that will help you work out. Go out and walk, do some exercises, yoga, whatever works for you. Make sure that you don't compromise on that, right? This is important for you to stay positive and to heighten your positive energies inside you, so that you can offer it to your children. So that's why this becomes very important for you. And you know what? Couple of you, many of you, may be parents who are working, and there are children who are dependent on you to feel better. So when they're feeling bad, when they're feeling isolated, obviously they'll come to you, just like the way your students come to you. So you need to keep filling your bucket up, your energy up, a sense of joy and happiness and gratitude. You need to fill that up, so that you can offer it to people around you and to offer your students and children. Pick up a hobby, indulge in laughter, get off WhatsApp, get off Telegram as much as possible. And you know what? Understand that we are a sense of community. So that means if you need help, come out and ask me. I'm available, and I'll give you my email address. I'll give you where I am. Come out and say, I really need help. I am feeling isolated. I am feeling worthless. I feel, there are school leaders who are not going to office anymore. So, I mean, they don't feel productive. They feel like I'm not doing anything. I'm not significant enough. Anytime you feel like that, please come and talk about it, because you know what? We're all in it. We're all struggling, including Ashwin, including everybody. We all, either health wise, relationship wise, emotionally, professionally, we all have been impacted, and we're all in together. And I'm here as a mentor to hold your hand, to comfort you. It is my responsibility. That's why I'm doing this session. And trust me, I'm available for you. If there's any way that I can do for you, come out and ask me. So go out, get a sense of community, come out. And if you feel like you have something that you can share with other teachers, you know what, hold workshops, share your learning, whatever and however you figure things out, share it with the others, because we are a part of a larger group of people, and we're here to support them as much as possible. So that is something for you. And my intention over here is to be that kind of person who is always there, so that kids ask you, why are you good to me? And you say, because I see good in you and I know how good you are. And that's exactly what I'm telling you. I know that I'm good to you, and I'm offering my service, I'm offering my time, offering my attention to you, because I know how good all of you are. You are strong, you are resilient as teachers. And I know that you are brave, you're caring. Maybe right now things are foggy, maybe it's confusing, maybe it's traumatic right now. But my intention and my focus is coming from that space. There is goodness in you, and I believe that. So this is where you can reach me. You can email me, and this is a group called the Awakened Learners Group. This is something that I founded for teachers and for parents, and you will find a lot of resources over there on wisdom. You can even write out and type out a message for me. You can reach out to me in case if there's any help that is required. If you're looking for a book, I have authored this book, which is called The Mindful Pause. And this basically gives you very simple exercises on how you can work on focus, anxiety. You can actually use it as a part of your everyday, make it as a part of your routine. Buy this book if you're interested, and use it every single day. We've actually done this challenge with 250 teachers, where every day they pick up one exercise, one activity, and do it. And they have reported back saying that they're feeling a lot more calmer, a lot more focused, feeling a lot more stronger, mentally strong, emotionally strong. They feel that they have that space. They feel that they can offer that to children. They feel they're more patient. They feel they're more compassionate. They feel like they have tolerance right now. So there's a lot of feedbacks that I have received, good ones, after this book. So you can pick this book up if you want and use it every single day as a part of their work as a family. Just pick up one book for the whole family, and that's more than enough. So I really hope that this session has been beneficial for you. You can write back to me in case if you have any doubts, if you feel like you need some more help, some more practices. But my whole idea over here is to provide emotional safety. So when I talk about emotional safety, you can do a lot, you can say a lot, but trust me, with the situation that we're in right now, we need to hold spaces as parents, as teachers, without fixing, without judging. Understand that whatever your child is feeling, whatever your student is feeling, it's a human experience. Stop comparing them to yourself. I did this, so why can't my child not do that? That child is doing better. Why is my child, not like him? Like, he's doing very well when he's at home, while your child is different. Your child is experiencing it differently. He's processing it things differently, right? So stop comparing, stop judging, stop labeling. Just be with them. Trust me, it is not going to make them lazy. It doesn't mean that you not give them advices. You just allow them to feel that experience. No, I'm not saying that. Say it when the time is right, right? Ask them how it is. So if you feel that your child is very lazy, I'm not talking to the parents. If you feel that your child is lazy, not doing anything, very demotivated, disinterested, you know what? Go out, seek help, get a guidance from me. We're trained to actually understand when to do what, like when to hold space, when to take actions. Holding space is also an action. You're doing this because the child has to kind of feel it. But There's certain time to it. And when that time comes in, then you're like, all right, now what do you want to do about it? So that time will come, but it's all about giving that initial first step. So in case if there is any questions, if you'd like to ask me anything, I'm always available. You can get in touch with me, you can mail me. And you know what, you can have a one-to-one with me for 15. I do offer like a 10 to 15 minutes unconditional, no charge sort of session. You can always ask me if there's any questions, and I'll be happy to do that. So this video is available and on YouTube, so you can watch this. For Ashwini's video, I'm going to give you another link. You can use that to watch her, and it'll make sense. When you watch her session and you watch my session, it'll make sense of how do you action, how do you hold space. So that is something that is an invitation to all of you. So take care, be safe, and see you very soon. Thank you for being with me. So thank you so much. And yes, so thank you so much. And I shall see you very soon. Do like Awaken Learners Hub, because you will find a lot of resource over there. And I hope to see you there. See you. Ciao. Be safe. Bye-bye.